Behringer is stirring up a storm again, questioning the very nature of copying in digital age. Are their synth clones any different from software emulations? Sony's legal team goes rampant, taking on AI companies and a major hotel chain. SYNTHS' new AI tool lets you export stems directly to Ableton Live, and Madrona Lab is breaking the mold with a mind-bending new synth. And that's not all. Arturia MiniBrute is reborn as a software powerhouse. Plugin Alliance delivers an 80s reverb dream. UAD's free DAW is now available for Windows users, and a pocket-sized DJ mixer is about to drop. It is that time of the week. It is time to tune in. Behringer in some ways may just be the most interesting man in the world. Born in Switzerland, his father was a nuclear physicist and his mother a pianist and interpreter. His upbringing was a mix of technology and music. Working with his father to build a 1000-pipe organ into his childhood home that was the first electronically controlled pipe organ, that sparked his musical instrument interest early. By 16 years old, he had built his first synthesizer at the age of 16, the UB1, of course. That itself was inspired by a Foreman synthesizer in 1977. His company has continued to be inspired by products that have been built by other companies, but not without controversy. The company continues to post future products with an absolutely incredible number of removed models, which by last count is 30 plus different inspired models. Calling them clones is sometimes accurate, as the form seems to be the same as the hardware they were inspired by, and sometimes they have taken the ideas and put them in smaller mini boxes. The company owner is now asking why there seems to be so much backlash at the policy of taking designs and recreating an inspired sound from the iconic synthesizers. In questioning this, Yulu cites VST plugins, especially VST emulations, by asking why is it okay for others but not for us? The question is an interesting thought in what copying really means in the digital age, and coming from anyone else might inspire some thoughtful answers. Is it okay to emulate a hardware synth in software that costs many times less than the hardware, but produces a sound so similar that it is hard to distinguish? With computer technology so good that playing a MIDI keyboard into a DAW, you can really repeat the feeling of playing a hardware synthesizer. But is it different to buy a piece of hardware that is so inspired by the same instrument that it looks and feels the same? Uli even stated that with their latest release, the clone of the iconic Oberheim OBX8 was approved by the original designer Tom Oberheim. Mr. Oberheim even went on record saying, anything that brings new sounds to young musicians just starting out is exciting to me. While this is a feel-good statement from a legend in the industry, Tom is no longer the owner of the Oberheim brand, as the company went bankrupt in 80s and the current company is actually owned by Gibson Corporation. The OBX8 is produced and sold by that company. It's building and selling a 1300 synth that looks, feels and sounds similar to 5000 synth, morally right. Software companies also license the use of the name and sound from the original makers by paying fees to the company for their software recreations, while there is no indication that Behringer pays any licensing. This is a very hard topic to discuss and people have really strong opinions. I know that our community is very cool people, so let's get comments going. Tell me what you think on the subject down below. It is really interesting to hear. Was Yuli right by saying there's no difference, or do you think there's a difference? Let me know. We are a tiny channel trying to really make a difference in music world by bringing you objective news weekly. And we need your help. If you want to help us, please consider like and subscribe. It really helps a ton. I can't even imagine what Sony is paying for lawyers these days, as their bill must be huge, because we all know lawyers charge a lot for their services. At least they are getting their money's worth, as they were put to work twice recently. First, Sony Music sent out opt-out letters to AI companies declaring that their materials owned by the company were specifically not to be used to train AI models. 700 companies received this stop or My Mom Will Shoot You notes from Sony that included demands for the companies to report on what songs have been used and when for AI training. The demand came with a deadline and a threat of legal action if the companies don't comply with the very nicely and politely worded request. In a separate statement, Sony says that AI is not going to go away and stated they just want to protect their artists, as they see AI is becoming direct competition in the future. With AI copyright violations still being debated hotly in court systems around the world, it will be interesting to see if a lawsuit brought by the company will be valid. One copyright claim that Sony has a high likelihood of winning is a separate lawsuit suing the hotel chain Marriott. The lawsuit states that Marriott illegally used 931 songs on social media posts by the hotel company. Sony says it sent similar letters in 2020 warning the hotel chain that it was in violation for not paying for the rights to use the music. The hotel company seems to have ignored the warnings and continued to violate the law, including 47 cited instances just this month. So when you receive a letter from Sony, you better listen, as they pay their lawyers well. While the world continues to struggle with how fast AI is developing in all areas, music AI platforms are quickly introducing new features for musicians. Soundful, a company launched in 2022 and quickly amassed a base of over 1 million users, introduced a feature that may make it one of the best tools available. The company already announced collaborations with big dance artists like Trilau, Autograph, Cascade, and others, while also being socially conscious by stating artists' works will be compensated for training. The new announcement introduced a feature that directly talks to Ableton and can separate the generated music into stems into the DAW. An Ableton-only feature for now, the company is aiming to be the go-to for professional producers. The stem feature is a premium feature and is only available on top tier the company offers, which is a subscription of $9.99 a month. There is also a limit, as 20 stems per month are currently available to premium users. Well, that is a bummer. 20 stems. I will do that in a single day. If that sounds interesting, I will put the link to their site in the description below. Last week, Superboot wowed us with stacks of hardware synthesizer announcements and a ton of new takes on the concept of synthesizing sound. While hardware is fun to talk about, software synthesis has been a bit less innovative. These synths are typically a new take on older concepts. Madrona Labs wants to change that with a synth concept that is so different, it might be hard to explain how it works. I'm going to try it, so stick with me with here. The software is an additive synth that takes an input of a sample file and then divides it into a 64-band partial, which uses vector spatialization. I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, which is partly correct. Each partial is then customizable with controls for frequency, volume, and my favorite label, noisiness. These controls can change over time to create the natural sounding time stretching or exotic timbral manipulations. The partials then loop, and an FM mode that includes carrier oscillators can further change the sound. There are envelopes, gates, a 4-pole leather filter, and finally a spatialization engine that will distribute the precise location in space of each partial sound. Why do I feel like I'm talking about general relativity instead of a synthesizer? This happens 60 times each second to give smooth sounding output rather than the typical jittering of granular synthesis. A companion app, Vutu, that is available for free, lets you import your own samples and create custom partials, makes creating sound quite expandable. All this creativity comes at a cost, as the synth is $180 with an intro price of $130 for a limited time. Speaking of software emulations, Arturia has announced a new software version of their first hardware synthesizer, the MiniBrute V, which models the MiniBrute hardware they released in 2012. I have one. The software also expands the capabilities of the classic synth with a few new modern features, but also stays away from a direct copy of the current available polybrute by not including a ladder filter. The synth has a single oscillator with 3 waveforms and a 2-wave sub-oscillator. PWM, ultrasoul, and the famous metallizer shapers are also included, which helped create the famous brute sound. 2 envelopes, 1 LFO, and the original arpeggiator are all included. New additions include a 4-slot FX unit that include various algorithms, MPE support, and macro controls to map to your DAW. With the synth now virtual, there is also a built-in patch browser, which makes an unlimited number of presets available for the device. The company has been careful to avoid going fully into emulating the new polybrute 12, so it is only 8 voice compatible and doesn't allow for other features only available on the flagship hardware. The MiniBrute V is now on sale for an introductory price of 99 euros. The use of reverb can really make a difference in your music. Use too much and things sound washed out and muddy. Use too little and it sounds dry and without feeling or room. You also have to be careful to pick the right sound to match the style you want to present. Plugin Alliance have a new contender for you to consider that recreates a classic 80s reverb hardware that's still popular today. The Better Maker BM60 is a new take on the Lexicon PCM60 digital reverb hardware that was made iconic by the likes of Prince, Phil Collins, and was even used in recent tracks from Lordi and Taylor Swift. The new emulations goes further than the original hardware by introducing a dynamic room simulation, variable controls of the plate density, and a convolution module. The company claims to also keep the CPU usage low, as reverbs have been known to eat up your power with their algorithmic calculations. If you are looking for a new reverb or just like to collect reverb plugins like a fine wine, sampling and tasting the various vintages, the BM60 is available now for an intro price of $99. Universal Audio has been in DAW business since 2020, but exclusively available for Apple operating systems. Well, all the Windows users, you can now try your hand at the free software, as Luna is now available for everyone without restrictions. There will be for sure some driver problems. It is Universal Audio and Windows. The DAW is focused on the vintage style that UAD is known for, by including many of the classic tape machines, channel strips, and compressors that are built into the mixer. The free version has VST compatibility to add third-party instruments, but doesn't include any bundled instruments in the basic version. To access UAD's collection of plugins, users will have to opt for the Pro bundle, which they get a 30-day trial just by downloading the free version. The upgrade to the Pro adds effects, EQs, reverbs, the Polymax synth, and more, and currently is discounted from the $400 standard price to $200. If you need a new DAW and have a very limited budget, Luna might be the right option, with the free version having no limitations on the number of tracks available or VST restrictions that some other free DAWs have. Links in the description for those Windows users interested in seeing what all the fuzz is about. Do you look at your cell phone and think, if only this thing was better at DJing, then they will pay me even less? A Chicago company thought that was something missing in the current market and decided to shrink the concept of 2 turntables and a mixer into a pocket device. Details are a little light, but Drift DJ claims to be the smallest DJ mixer in the world. The device features 2 channels, is battery powered, has internal drive, and MP3 compatible. There is no need to hook the device up to any computer system, as it functions all-in-one with a touchscreen and knobs for EQ controls and sliders for tempo control and mixing channels. It's kind of cool. With both a headphone out and speaker line out, it can be used to play an actual party. There is no announcement of pricing yet, and a Kickstarter is planned for later in the year, while the company showed off a working prototype at Superboot, so we should see the official launch probably soon, 2040? If you want to learn more about the project, I will link to the company's Instagram where they offer videos and an update mailing sign up in the description below. Musicians are quickly learning to diversifying their businesses is a good way to support their careers. Some even back into business opportunities, like Ray's venture into sex toys world earlier this year. Following in those footsteps, Alison Wonderland has announced a new beauty line of makeup products. Leaning into her festival experiences, the FMU beauty products are festival friendly, that is meant to let your makeup phase the music with you. Using terms like performance driven, the cosmetics are specifically formulated to withstand the demands of all day, all night dancing and celebration. With cosmetic sales currently projected at more than 390 billion worldwide, if Alison is successful with the venture, this second career could be extremely profitable. What do you think? Do I need to sell something to support my music career? Let me know what ideas you have for me. And no, I'm not selling sex toys. Brute V Live is known in the UK for their iconic clubs that feature unique and large spaces that include Printworks and drum sheds. The now closed Printworks was the company's first successful location that had a capacity of 6,000 attendees. The iconic location featured printing presses left behind by the previous owner, Hemsworth Quay Printers. That is the most British name I ever read. After announcing the closure, the company moved into an even bigger space by buying a vacated IKEA I'm Swedish, it is the right pronunciation, not IKEA, and building a 16,000 person capacity venue. These venues have now welcomed massive world-renowned artists and been featured in news through the world, keeping the UK's clubbing scene on the map. Not happy to stay focused on the British market, the company is hopping the pond and visiting the former UK territories with their newest venture. Oh no! British hopping the pond. Brooklyn Storehouse is 104,000 square feet or 10,000 square meters for those not familiar with the US imperial system, which is like 95% of the world. The space is located at the Brooklyn shipyards across the river from Manhattan in New York City and includes a similar industrial interior as Brute V's other locations. Brute V is partnering with the TCE Promotions in the US for events at the space. TCE produces 150 plus shows a year, including Time Warp, a techno-focused event. Headlines for the initial events are set to include Justice, Charlotte David, Eric Prydz, making Brute V's venture into the iconic New York club scene with a strong opening act. Italy's cultural minister announced the opening of a disco museum. According to them, it is the world's first. On May 18th, the Moody Cocorico celebrated their conversion of the shuttered Cocorcio nightclub. I did butcher those names, didn't I? The club opened in 1989, features a unique glass pyramid similar to the Louvre in Paris. The venue closed its door in 2019 and has now been converted fully into a museum celebrating the discoteca culture in the country. The event was free and featured performance and an immersive experience that welcomed visitors to explore the redefined museum experience the location offers. With exhibits of performers, designers, and perfumers, sights, sounds, and smells are all blended together to make this museum truly innovative. You can now visit the open museum located in Riccione to learn more about modern electronic music, modern art, and sensory experiences of nightlife culture. And that's a wrap for this week in music news, and I hope to see you next week.